Good afternoon, guys. Marshall here, and welcome to today's live Q&A. So, you guys have been having fun in the group. We've been discussing things about trauma. We're going to get into that more as we go along here because, well, it's time to heal trauma. It's time for you to experience actual closure with traumatic events that you've had in your life so that you can move forward. And trauma plays a very important role in codependency. It's actually a result of a state called freeze, and codependency is a result of a state called fawn. And so we're going to be talking more about that, especially next week and on my Facebook wall and in the group here. So be prepared for that. All right, so we got some questions today. Let's get them answered. I need to run down to the questions. Let's see. All right, here we go. All right, guys. So Iro asks, how do you forgive yourself when you realize your own faults? Forgive yourself for having faults is an interesting question. I remember thinking that way in the past, like, ooh, I've got to forgive myself for having faults. This is one of those concepts called making yourself wrong or looking at the wrongness of you. A lot of times our faults aren't actually a problem if we approach them from a different point of view. So it really depends on what you're doing. Like you mentioned a habit of interjecting when people speak and assuming negatively when a person doesn't message or call back. All right. These are not faults in who you are. See, that's what we do with faults. We make them really, really personal. Like, oh, this is a result of who I am. I'm a problem. No, it isn't. This habit of interjecting is your excitement. You might have something really exciting to share, or you might have an anxiety you're trying to regulate about what they're saying, what they're doing. Both are okay. What you want to do is acknowledge what your desire is and then regulate that so that you can express it in a way that's constructive for the context or the situation you're in. You don't have to get rid of it. You just need to shape it in a little way so that you can belong more in that. So it shows up in a more positive way for you. So, because I interject a lot, I do it all the time, and I get that. Most of the time I'm doing it because I'm really excited. I want to share this because it's going to really work for you, that kind of thing. So learning to relax, learning to tune in, learning to listen will help manage that interjection, okay? And you can always ask and say, hey, I've got a thing I'd like to share here when you're done, or, or you just wait, and then when you get that pause, you can say, hey, can I share this? And then they'll consent to it or not, and then you go from there. All right, but when it comes to assuming negatively when a person doesn't message or call back that they hate you, this is, one, it's assumption, it's a projection onto the person, and two, it's reflective of the neglect and the trauma you've been through, Iru, because you've gone through hell. So we have to take responsibility for the thought, but we don't have to believe the thought. See, like Adrian properly, his approach there, detach is the appropriate response to a thought, because thoughts are not facts. They're not truth. They're not reality. They're literally a thought, right? So don't control your thoughts like you would, like you go out to a car and then try to make it into a tree. Why isn't this car growing leaves? No, respect your thoughts for what they really are. Thoughts. That's all they are. It's a thought. The more you practice that, the more you ingrain that up here, then you're not going to be reactive that way. You're going to go, ooh, I had the assumption they hate me because they didn't text or call me back. What else is possible now? Because 99.9% of people don't have a problem with who you are or you. They're focused on their lives, doing their thing. They're thinking about a pizza. They're thinking about paying the bills. They're stressed about a test. They're thinking somebody's butt's cute, whatever it is. It's not a big deal. The less we personalize and internalize other people's behavior, the more we become oriented to our yard, more rooted we are in who we are. So we can then live and function from our own happiness, brilliance, and joy. All right. So, all right. So you also mentioned, when I notice these mistakes, I make projection and then, oh crap, this person hates me. Yeah, it's not healthy, but you can let it go. You can begin to practice a different mindset of assuming that It has nothing to do with you. You can let it go and you can focus back on you rather than on their feelings. Because subconsciously, guys, when we do that, we're actually looking for them to regulate our sense of value. See, in the codependent narcissistic dynamic we've all been living with, the big struggle we have, the big struggle, the big fight that's going on is the narcissist wants us to regulate their emotions. They want us to manage how they feel. We want them to regulate how we see ourselves. So we regulate how they feel and they regulate our sense of value. We have to disconnect that process by giving people their autonomy back and let them make whatever choice they're going to make, and then reside within us and preserve our value, our worth. Keep it within us, okay? Because approval does not equal worth. It does not equal value. Approval is a judgment. It's a conditional statement that somebody said, hey, I like you. Cool. That doesn't mean anything about your value. It can recognize and honor your value, but it does not create your value. Your value is innate. And our job in moving beyond codependency, healing trauma, is to retrieve our value and then begin embodying it, being part of it, living from the energy of love and awareness of ourself. We stop judging our value. We stop trying to measure it and determine it. We start being ourselves. We start residing in the energy and essence of who we are. And if we don't know that, we get into the exploration of it. That's what Codependence to Confidence and Being You Brilliantly is all about, connecting back into you. Codependence to Confidence gives you the skills to get rid of the shame, integrate love in its place, create vital, healthy connections with yourself and others, and then take control of your happiness. That will get you back into harmony with you. And then when you want to master being you deeply in that very specific way, that's where Being You Brilliantly comes in. Okay? All right. So I want you to emphasize on that. Then Angie asks, is it normal for people who have been in a long abusive relationship to develop selfishness after they're separated? A lot of times people are confusing selfishness with choosing themselves, with having an opinion, with being picky. That's not selfishness, guys. Selfishness is going out and telling someone else to be a certain thing so that we can get what we want. So it would be like me going to Sally and saying, Sally, I want your pizza. Give it to me now. That's selfishness. So selfishness is about taking something we have no right to. Period. So you being picky, you discovering what you like and what you don't like, you're not even self-absorbed. Self-absorbed means I'm the only person in the world. Nobody else matters. Now, codependents typically don't do that. What happens in our healing is we've been gaslit in these terms. And so we're not really being selfish or self-absorbed. We are being self-oriented and self-advocating. Okay, and that's what was called selfishness by the other person who wanted us to be something we're not so they can get what they want, which is the actual definition or demonstration of selfishness. So we can genuinely care about others, but you're probably also discovering that you have what's called empathic fatigue. You've burned out on empathy. So allow yourself to have one of the two sovereign rights of personal autonomy that I teach in Codependence to Confidence. The first one is you have the right to occupy space, whatever space that is. And the second right is the right not to care. You do not have to care. When you get into this middle space of like, I just don't care right now, that's actually not a bad space. It's a good space because now you're starting to see when you do care and when you don't. Then your empathy becomes organic. It becomes natural. You can lean into trusting that and allowing it to guide you. Okay? So that's what we need to do there. That's what needs to happen with that. PTSD might be interfering with that. My experience in clearing trauma and working with my own trauma and others, I haven't seen that correlation before, but it is, maybe it's possible. I don't know, but I personally haven't experienced it personally or professionally. You do not need to reverse this. You need to start honoring your boundary. You need to start listening to what you want. You need to start leaning into opening up to you more, because you're in a recovery state. You don't need to go back to something. You need to move forward. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna start to feel empathy. You're gonna start to feel compassion. You're gonna start to feel interest again emotionally in other people when you're ready. But right now, your body's like, I need you to be paying attention to me. We need to pay attention to ourselves so we can stand out and be ourselves. Now, you also mentioned that you want to prove yourself, you want to stand out and be something big. You're looking for value, right? That's what we typically do. We do those things in order to prove value or gain approval or sense of meaningfulness and importance in the world. What I'd recommend doing here is beginning to validate your existence just as you are. Validate the fact that you are you. Start to like you. Start to approve of you for you. Approve of the things you enjoy and approve of the things you don't. Hey, it's okay that I don't like that thing. Oh, it's okay that I like this thing. Allow yourself to have that experience and that privilege so that you can integrate into this other aspect of yourself that's coming forward. So you're moving into a balance, because codependency is like a spectrum. We've got narcissism, codependency, and then in the middle we have interdependency. A lot of times when we break out of codependency, we move towards independence, and we confuse that with narcissism. Narcissism is not in that spectrum. Narcissism is over here and being la-la and devoid of empathy and compassion, whereas you have that, but you have fatigue. That's my suspicion there, at least, is that you have empathetic burnout. So you move towards independence, and now we've got to move back to interdependence, and this is where we start to connect again with ourselves and with others, and to generate interconnection, love, attachment, bonds, things like that, and to build that up. You will want to look at the PTSD just to see if you're dealing with some dissociation, because that is possible to short circuit empathy and self-worth. But when you connect back to you and you start to honor the essence of who you are and really validate and enjoy your beingness, the energy of you, because you're not a definition, you're an experience. When you start to enjoy the experience of being you, that's when you're going to start seeing a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion, a lot of clarity start to show up again in your life. So that's what I would do there. All right. So that is all the questions that were asked. Okay. So tomorrow, later today, I'm going to be posting another Facebook Live in the group. This one will be on my wall. We're going to be talking about trauma and the 5 Ps that come with, that tell us that we're dealing with trauma. And then tomorrow we're going to be discussing more about how we heal trauma. And then it'll be the weekend, and we'll get back on this on Monday. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being in the group and supporting each other. I appreciate you. And remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Now I gotta find the button.